Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the health center of Habitat Marte. I am Eleonora Zanus. I'm an industrial designer, and I am specialized in human factors and ergonomics for space. So the challenge for today for our mission is to think about the facilities of Habitat Marte in the case of a threat of a virus in the Mars station. This is our Habitat Marte, which is composed of different kind of facilities. And today we will talk about the health facility and how we are going to manage this facility during a 1-week lockdown due to the virus. So basically, our health center for Habitat Marte is composed of different responsibilities, and it will run different kind of procedures, and it's equipped of different kind of equipments and systems to deal with these different kind of responsibilities. The first one, it's about routine procedures. So the health center, we take care of different kind of procedures to treat physical health, mental health, and physical exercise. And these procedures will be daily and periodic checkups of vital parameters and health status of the astronauts to keep them healthy. And then we also assess the mental health. Basically, astronauts will experience strong constrained feelings being already in the Mars station, and this will be accentuated to the virus situation because they won't be able to move through the different facilities, meaning that they will constrained in their own center. So the stress level and the sleep quality are main factor that we must address during the week and in the overall period of the whole mission on Mars. And of course, we have to take care about physical exercise, which is going to be a daily duty of the astronauts to maintain physical and mental health, and also to countermeasure gravity and atmosphere on Mars situation. On a second stage, the health center system, we take care of more complex procedures. So in this case, we are not talking about routine situations, but one case on worst case scenarios, for example. So after an EVA mission, for example, it can happen that one of the astronauts get injured. So in this case, they will be treated in the health system, in the health center. So we will take care about the treatment and procedures for illness and injuries. We will run minimal invasive diagnostic studies, as well periodical diagnostic studies to check up the overall physical health and, for example, how radiation are affecting the body and so on. And then we will also take care about surgery and more complex medical procedures if we need to. The health centers also take care about environmental health. So how's the health of the environment we are living, which is the health center facility itself, but also the whole base. And then we also take care about reporting back to Earth, conducting research, and so on. The health center, we take care of the main concerns about astronauts' health and the quality of the environment. However, the complexity of the situation requires a second layer, a second level of healthcare system, which will be focused and applied to each facility. So this is a minor healthcare system, and it consists of 3 preset kits, which will be available in each facility, so in an engineering facility, in the main station, in the greenhouse, and they provide simple first aid and minimal equipment ready to use. So these 3 kits consist of the emergency kit, where you can find a stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, saturatus, disposable thermometers, just for last minute emergencies, or in the case of the virus, if one of the astronauts will feel sick, we be able to communicate with the health center, but they need some equipment to treat the patient. Then we have the medication kit for band-aids, gauze bandages, oral medicine, in case of any kind of hazards or any kind of problem may happen in the main station or in the greenhouse and so on. And then we have the instrumentation pack, which is a more complex package. It includes respirator and the fluid system and defibrillator in case of really risking situations. So we are now here to focus on the internal design of the healthcare system. This is the habitat module from outside. It is composed of 3 floors. And as you can see, it is made of a lightweight metal deck and robotic columns, which construct and represent the main structure. And then the inflatable film, it's going to be added to the structure. So as we said, we have 3 floors, and each floor is 3 meters height. So for a total of 9 meters height of the module. The base, it's a circular section of 8 meter, but the second and the third floor are slightly smaller. So we are talking about 50 square meters for the first floor, 37 square meters for the second floor, and 26 square meters for the third floor, with a total of 130 square meters of the whole health center module. So the first one will be used for real medical procedures. It is because in the case of emergency, there is probably no time to move through up and back of the habitat of the module. So at the first floor, we need the surgery and emergency room. As well, we are going to place the checkup room and infirmary. At the second floor, we basically decided to go to place a more research-focused facilities and rooms. So we have the research room, the 3D printing room, the gym, where all the astronauts will train every day, and the ward for observation and recovery. In case we have some patients that need, after an injury or after treatment, need to stay still and get under observation. The third floor is aimed to the social area. In the case of emergency, the facility, the healthcare module will get locked down. And this means that the 4 people living in it and operating in it will need to be self-sustainable. So the third floor is aimed to deal with this situation. So we have the dormitory, the social area, the kitchen, the dining room, the toilets, the lavatory, the storage, and a final virtual reality room, which actually will be used both for personal assistance, in the case that the astronauts will need some private privacy and some private moment, but it will also be used to treat psychological issues, and will be used both for therapeutical situation and for psychological research. So this is a more detailed map of the habitat of the module. So at the first floor, we have the checkup room and the infirmary, which is actually more open space room where the doctors will operate. And then the surgery and the emergency room are actually in a closed environment so that it can be fully controlled. Then the second floor, we have a a difference of organization of the map. We have the ward, the gym, the 3D printing room, and biomedics. And basically, in these two rooms, in the 3D printing room and biomedics and research room, we conducted most of the research about different aspects, and it will also be connected to the gym, where will be gathered data about physiological situation, how the body is responding to the current changes of environment, and so on. And then the third floor, you can see the virtual reality room, which is a closed room apart, while the rest of the area, apart the dormitory and the toilets, of course, it is meant to be a more social gathering situation where people can enjoy to stay together, chill out, have dining together, and cooking together, and just have a more terrestrial looking situation. So now we are talking about applied technologies and all the machineries we need to run our health center. So regarding the physical and mental health, we can have most of all, we can use telemedicine, but we must consider that due to the distance of Mars to Earth, the delay of communication is even higher than ISS or on the moon. So telemedicine will be provided. So astronauts and doctors will be able to talk to consultants on Earth about emergency. But we must take care of the delay of communication. So actually telemedicine will be more used to talk about and communicating the reports, the research, the situation, and these aspects. While virtual reality can be used, I'm sorry, a narrow AI can be used to run more specific diagnostic, especially in the situation of emergency. So let's say that we have a really strong emergency, and we have an astronaut who we don't understand while he's suffering, he's having some problems, and we need to make a diagnostic. And in the short term, we can use narrow AI to provide a list, a pre-made list of different kind of situation and treatments that we can go for to treat the patient. Then we need an HRF ultrasound machine to provide high-resolution imaging of the heart and other organs to run diagnosis and research. We need an health monitoring device to control heart rate, blood pressure, blood hemoglobin, blood body temperature, and all these devices will be used for daily checkups. Then this can also be integrated in portable or wearable diagnostic devices and in wearable sensors that basically run 24 hours checkups. And this data will also be used to monitor the health of the patients. Also, the physiological data will be used to draw some psychological estimations. And then we can use virtual reality indeed for reducing pain and anxiety, has like a private situation, private moment to deal with psychological issues and treatments. More complex procedures will need more innovative technologies. We can use augmented reality along with virtual reality to prepare surgical procedures. We need a 3D pharmaceutical printer to produce both medical equipment that we can't or we don't necessarily need to ship from Earth, to print a cast in case of injuries or broken limbs, to 3D print drugs, biomaterials, prosthetics, and all these kind of things. So we're going to need more different printers working on different materials and different techniques. We need X-ray machine, and then surgical robots to perform semi-autonomous procedures and to support the surgeon. And then narrow AI can also be used for complex procedures to decide what steps to do in the treatment of the surgery, for example, as personal assistant, like as a nurse. Of course, we don't want to rely completely on narrow AI, but it can be a really helpful assistant in highly emergency and first eye situation. Then we have the environmental health system. This will take care of the health of the environment of the health center, but it can also be applied to the other facilities to keep all the environments healthy for everyone. This is made of 4 main levels and systems. We have the toxicology system, which includes a volatile organic analyzer and a compound specific analyzer for combustion products and a compound specific analyzer for hydrazine. We have the microbiology system, which is a surface sample kit, a water microbiology kit, and microbial air sample to enable the assessment of microbiology. We have the system to test the water quality, and then we need the system to test radiation level inside and outside the facility. So most of these resources will need to be shipped from Earth. But since we are going to have a lot of 3D printers, we can also run a more detailed list of materials and tools that we can actually just 3D print it on site without shipping them from Earth. Regarding the management of the health center, we have 4 astronauts. We have the multi-specialized doctor, who's the chief and the commander of the health center. We will need a paramedic, physiotherapist, and trainer. We will need a biomedical engineer, and then a chemical engineer and pharmacist. So these people, these astronauts will need to have an interdisciplinary background, which will cover different kinds of situations. They will all need basics in medics and first aid, and they also will need to have a overall comprehension of others' specializations. So the multiple specialized doctor is, as I say, the commander of the health center, and he will deal, and he's the responsible person for emergency situation. He will be the surgeon operating astronauts. He will be in charge of monitoring astronaut basic health data, and he will propose the routines and protocols in case of any kind of change of the environment, in case of emergency, in case that after X months on Mars, these need to be revised because the psychological and physiological response of the body is changing, and so on. He will also provide guidance to the other 3 astronauts of the facility. He will control and will be in charge of environmental health, and he will manage and decide and organize all the ongoing research and experiments. The paramedic, physiotherapist, and trainer will be a really wide and interdisciplinary profile. We need to assist to provide medical assistance to the astronauts, so it will support the multi-specialized doctor, and we also provide assistance to surgery. He's also in charge of the protocols for training, and he will train the crew in first high aid, and it will support astronaut physical health and through physiotherapy and through different physiotherapy procedures. And he will be the leader of the emergency and rescue team. The biomedical engineer, it's mainly focused on working on biomedical research, which includes the development of different machineries, treatment, protocols, and machinery we can 3D print, for example, and so on. It will support the physiotherapist And we work together to develop new exercise machinery, new training machineries, accordingly to the research ongoing on the base. And you also need to be specialized in 3D printing, as will lead the 3D printing of my biomedical materials and so on. The last one, but not least, the chemical engineer and pharmacist researcher will work on the production of drugs, pills, and medicaments. And of course, he also needs to be specialized in 3D printing, since this will be 3D printed. He will manage the fluid storage and he also composes part of the emergency and rescue team. He will need to support the other member of the facility, and he's trained in first aid medical emergency. So for 1 week of emergency due to the virus, we need quite some resources to keep 4 people healthy. So if we talk about emergency, we can consider that astronauts can survive 7 days. I mean, they can rely for 7 days on dried food, which requires less space. But it's just in the perspective of an emergency. So a short-term period. So for 4 persons for 7 days, we are going to need 28 breakfast, 28 snacks, and 28 lunch, and 28 dinners to keep them and to provide the right caloric and proteins and all the necessities intakes. And so we are talking about 50.4 kilograms just for the dried food. While for the water, we are going to need 22.4 liters just to add to the dried food. We're going to need 112 liters of drinking water and 56 liters for hygiene. So this is a total of 100 and almost 200 liters of water for just 1 week. So the implementation of the recycle of liquids is going to be very important to be implemented in all the facilities. The guidelines to be provided from the health center to the other facilities will be developed further, but they will fill in daily, they will ask the other facilities to fill in daily personal report. This must be sent to the healthcare system center every day. And the protocol, the report will include all the physiological data gathered by the wearable and embedded sensors and devices, but it also will ask for a psychological self-analysis, which will be conducted through different probes and different activities that don't necessarily need to be heavy mentally after like a day and like after the work shift, but it can also be they can also be implemented through some social games and different kind of probes or personal documentation of different supports. We will ask the other astronauts do not skip the training. It's mandatory to do 4 hours training per day to keep the body safe and the health and the body healthy. We also need the astronaut to respect the schedule provided. This includes the working hours, so the shifts are all organized to also taking care about the self-care hours. So the time for privacy, for personal moments, and also for social for social situation, and for self-esteem development. And then we will ask the astronaut to keep an eye on the gadgets and devices they are provided, because we need a constant monitoring of the data, so the device must always be working. About protocols, the health center will monitor the health of the astronauts daily, and I will also run periodical specific checkups, which will be more in-depth and specifics, and is to prevent and to study the response of the body to Martian gravity and environment. So after the flight, after the period in space to reach Mars, there will be two different kinds of protocols. One to recover from the microgravity situation, and the other one will focus on how actually the difference of atmosphere and gravity and radiation level on Mars will affect the body. So most of the protocols we have today come from after ISS period. So it means that after a period of microgravity, the astronaut will go back to on Earth, and the protocols are based on the fact that we are recovering on Earth gravity and terrestrial gravity and atmosphere. But on Mars, this will be different since it's going to be way lower. So we need to understand on site how after microgravity period, how the body will react on still a different environment situation. The health center will also provide medical care capabilities and emergency protocols, like for the virus or any kind of different emergency situation. The healthcare will provide psychological support to countermeasure the effects of living far from Earth and of constrained environment, and will conduct research on innovative technology to support the astronauts. It will be included VR and AR, but it can also be applied to actually a reorganization of the interior of the habitat to provide a more comfortable environment. And then the health center will provide protocols and equipment for training to minimize the physiological effect. So to conclude, having a health center on Mars and the management of this health center will have incredible benefits to Earth. In fact, there are many aspects that can impact on the Sustainable Development Goals. For example, just the situation and dealing with such a different environment will bring important research and consideration on health and well-being. This can be applied from psychological and physiological response of the body on the Martian environment, but also to when we will need to find a balance between working and well-being. And this will be even more important because of the constrained environment. And this can return insights on how we can actually find a balance on Earth. The training of the astronauts will require really innovative development of machinery, and this can be applied to specific health problems or specific impairment, physical impairment, to treat situation on Earth that so far haven't been studied, for example, because we will bring our bodies to the extreme conditions. So we will need all the effort to focus on that, and also this will provide more insights about how can we deal with some particular situation and disease. The collaboration between women and MENA, and then also the partnership, international collaboration, will all provide example and will impact gender equality. And this is even more important nowadays. And then the resource efficiency also will be really helpful to fight climate action and to protect water, life below water and life on land, since we will need to manage our resources in a more effective and work on fully closed loop systems of resource management. So I'm concluding. These are my references, and thank you for the attention.